So I guarantee you that at some point you went outside and you look at the night sky wondering what's out there. Curiosity is an integral part of being a human, and from the moment we are born, exploring the world around us becomes an obsession and a keystone of learning. Not surprising then that we want to know what is beyond our solar system or even deeper into the vacuum of space. This, however, much like any other exploration, has challenges. Challenges that we as a species need to solve if we want to make this dream a reality and possibly set a foot to another inhabitable planet. Now today we're going to take a look at top 7 challenges that represent the biggest hurdle to our spacefaring exploration. Now, before we get into the main topic of the video, just allow me a few moments to tell you about something that you may find interesting. See, because my YouTube channel is still in its infancy, so to say, and I'm trying to put as much content as I can, this is super time consuming, and getting any sponsors at this point is not an option because I need a lot more subscribers and views. So what I decided to do is to go online and try to find some quality and interesting products that you may find as an addition to your lifestyle. Now, if you want to see what is the one for today, just go down to the description of this video or in the pinned comment below, click on the link, and then if you like that and you make a purchase, that will definitely help the channel. But as I always say, don't buy something that you don't need. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get back to the topic. Number 7, basic biological needs. There are different things that we as individuals claim to be absolutely necessities without which we cannot go through life. Whether that is your pet that you look forward to coming back after a long day at work, or a video game that you've been playing since you were 10 years old. Now, these differ on individual basis, as you can imagine, but there are some other basic biological needs that we all absolutely cannot survive without. Those are sleep, water, and food, among other things, and unlike on Earth, some of them are difficult to come by in the endless void of space. Now, sleep seems to be the easy one. After all, a zero-gravity, dark environment in which you don't even need a bed seems like a dream come true for many of us who go through alarm philharmony every morning before waking up 3 hours later. Food and water, however, are totally different challenges. See, if we were to embark on a years-long journey, carrying enough food and water supplies is just not a viable option. All of those will need to be produced on the spot with sufficient backup systems in case of an equipment failure. Luckily, we are already working on this. The Vegetable Production System, or better known as VEGI, pretty creative, right? Is a space garden on board the International Space Station. Its purpose is to test and solve issues with growing vegetables in low-gravity environment without the sunlight. So far, the astronauts managed to produce and consume vegetables, which is an encouraging step towards success. Drinkable water production is also something that is happening in space as we speak. At the moment, this is done through a combination of carbon dioxide reduction, a hydrogen-oxygen fuel cells, which also produce electricity, and probably least favored one, at least for the astronauts, and that is wastewater recycling. Number 6, gravity. As it is obvious, we humans, along all other living organisms, have developed and involved here on Earth. Now, apart from how wonderful that is, because this planet provides everything that we need to sustain ourselves and progress further through evolution, that also means that our bodies have adapted to these specific conditions found on Earth. Gravity plays a big part in this. Our blood circulation is designed to tackle with these challenges, as well as our muscle structure that help us maintain our posture despite the constant downright pull. We mentioned plant growing earlier, and one of the biggest challenges is water distribution around the root system in a low or zero gravity environment. All of that is different when there is no gravity in that equation. One way to solve that will be some kind of artificial gravity generator. Rotary system is something that you may came across at some point, and the idea is that by having a halo-like space vessel that is rotating fast enough, we can generate downward pull just through a force of rotation. We would probably not be able to replicate the exact same effect like on Earth, but low gravity will be better than zero gravity. Another way will be inventing some sort of an anti-gravity system which violates laws of physics, and at this point sounds pretty science fiction. Number 5, radiation. Radioactive rays represent an incredible danger for all living organisms. They can tear through our DNA and destroy living cells in our bodies. Now, humanity became aware of true extent of these dangerous consequences during nuclear development, most notably bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, as well as the Chernobyl disaster. Lucky for us, we are protected from the radiation produced by our sun thanks to the ozone layer around our planet that acts like a sponge by absorbing and filtering most of it before it hits the ground. Once we leave the safety of our atmosphere, however, there is nothing to protect us from this danger. At the moment, astronauts have to rely on a special coating and protective shields that are designed to reduce the penetration of harmful radiation waves. This, however, is not a bulletproof system. Its effectiveness is only to a certain degree, and any prolonged space mission will carry risk of getting a dangerous or even lethal amount of radiation. Considering that these voyages will likely last for years at a time, a permanent solution to this problem is needed if we ever hope to venture beyond the stars. Number 4. Detection of habitable planets. Considering that space is infinite and the observable space is still far larger than we can even comprehend, the amount of habitable system is also large. According to some research, there is potentially around 300 million rocky worlds in our galaxy alone, which spans around 100,000 light years across. Now, even if we manage to get close to a speed of light, it would still take us billions of years to explore all of them and discover those that actually have habitable conditions. Now, what would be helpful is to have a system capable of detecting those that are most promising before even getting there. This process of elimination will allow us to prioritize and set sails to those with the highest chances of success. Today, NASA, alongside other space agencies, uses multiple ways of detecting these planets, which is promising. The problem is that the technology for detecting exoplanets is still in early phases and faces its own challenges that will need to be solved. Number 3. Communication. We take everyday communication for granted most of the time. You can be on the opposite side of the planet and still have a real-time conversation with your friends and family. This was unthinkable only a little more than a century ago, but as impressive as it is, it will still not be enough for long journeys. See, our satellites at the moment generate energy from the sun. This is not an issue in our orbit as well as in most of the solar system. If we venture beyond this limit, however, things get exponentially more challenging. Sun energy will no longer be an option, so an alternative permanent solution will be necessary. Furthermore, waves will become weaker and they would have to be picked up from a background noise, whether back here on Earth or on board the vessel. Another issue is the speed of that communication. Radio waves travel at the speed of light, and this causes a delay even in our own solar system. For example, it takes between 5 and 20 minutes to send a message from Mars to Earth, depending on the positioning of the planets. If we are in a Proxima Centauri system, for example, which is the closest to our solar system, it would still take more than 4 years for any message to get through. Now, if we venture even beyond that, it will take generations before we hear back from any mission sent. Number 2. Fuel. As you're aware, it takes energy to generate any movement, whether that is you going for a morning run or driving your car down the highway. Same principle applies for space travel. At the moment, we use chemical fuels that burn and release mass that in turn propels our rockets into space. Despite the fact that most of that energy is used in the initial phase when we are trying to escape the gravitational pull of our planet, we still need energy when we move through space. Various propulsions were put forth, anything from ion propulsion to nuclear generators as something that is available at the moment. Gravitational slingshot is something that we already use when it comes to sending our satellites to planets in our own solar system. As it stands now, this will likely be a combination of these methods, or at least some of them, until we are able to come up with more sustainable and efficient methods that can get us to a distant planet. Number 1. Speed. Lastly, at least on this list, there is an issue of how fast can we move. See, at the moment, our fastest spacecraft ever made by humans is Parker's solar probe with a speed of 43,000 miles per hour or 635,266 kilometers per hour. Now, for our standards, this is incredibly fast. Matter of fact, it will be hard to put this into a perspective. In cosmic terms, however, this is very slow. The speed of light itself, which represents a cosmic speed limit for everything that has matter, is still incredibly slow. If we were to get close to that speed, it would still take hundreds and thousands of years before we manage to reach only a handful of habitable planets. This will not be achievable in a single lifetime, so generations will have to be born and spend their lives and die on board these vessels before they even reach their destination without ever knowing if it will be worth it in the end. So that brings us to the end of this video. This is my list, so it's definitely not complete. There are a lot more challenges that need to be solved if we ever hope to get out there and explore more outside of our solar system. Now, I would really like to hear what are your thoughts on this. If you have any suggestions, opinions, what are your concerns, so just put them down in the comments and then we can have a discussion about this. If you like my content, you can support me on Patreon. You can also follow me on TikTok and Twitter. All those links are down there in the description of this video and also on my page. Thank you very much for tuning in again. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more of my upcoming content. And as always, stay safe and I'll see you on the next one.